so honored to have you on with us today because we saw this film. Of course, we saw you too at the Dallas International Film Festival, and this is still to date my favorite film of the year. So it's and it's just a beautiful, just touching, wonderful film. And you got to be so excited to get this out in the world right now.
We are. Yeah, it's just amazing to see the further we go, just like the community growing and multiplying in real time. Like we made this as a community, and now like we feel the audience is a part of that, and the way that it's resonating and unlocking things for people, and the joy that's sort of happening in the room is beautiful to witness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's got to be one of those things. I mean, you had something special the whole time, but just seeing it, was there a certain day or scene or moment on set that you think each of you will remember that it just stood out to you as like, all right, this is going to be really special to people?
Well, we shot on film. We shot on Super 16. So, our process, we had to kind of wait for our dailies to come back the next day, every day. And so there was always you're always kind of like sitting on pins and needles waiting for the footage. And so I think on the day that we did the audition sequence, we came back, and where we were staying had like this little screening room. And so we got the dailies, we went to the screening room, and once we blew it up on the screen, it was just so magical. Like every single shot, every single take was just like blowing my mind. So I just knew, I knew beforehand, but just seeing that was really it just kind of like cinched it for me. Like it was going to be a really special film.
Remember there were a few things too that where it felt like the film just came together, and one of those is it's in the trailer, and it's a big moment in the film, but it's when Coleman is playing Divine G and is in his parole hearing, his clemency hearing, and is asked, are you acting right now? And I just remember even all of us on set when that happened, even just staring at the monitor, just like all of our hearts breaking. And there were quite a few moments like that where it was just like, okay, it's hard. It'll be hard to mess that up in the edit. That'll be quite nice.
I mean, I'm an optimist, and maybe with some delusions of grandeur too. But so everything that we captured, I was like, I usually walk away each day. Sometimes like you say it like really quietly, like, I think this could be special. You don't want to say it too loud, out loud, and like jinx it. But definitely the moments they mentioned. I mean, and there are several others, but I also think like the moment where Coleman as Divine G has this breakdown on stage, there was like a electricity in that room, as well as like the emotion that was pouring out of him and that we were all feeling. I mean, I was definitely in the wings of the stage, like just tears just like pouring out of my eyes, like just blurring the monitor that I was watching on, because it was whatever audiences feel when that's happening, like we felt it too.
But again, Greg was also doing that on every scene, so
yeah, basically. Yeah, that's why it's hard for me to answer the question.
You cried every day. Multiple times a day. We had a running tally. Like how many days?
I cried so much the actors usually know that was a cue to move on to the next scene.
Well, shoot, we were crying in the audience, so I understand. Well, and of course we know Coleman. We've had Coleman on the show a couple of times, and he is just fantastic and an undeniable talent. But and another one stood out, Clarence. My goodness, where in the world did you find? How did you know that this was the right guy to go? Because to go toe to toe with Coleman Dominguez is quite a feat in itself. But to come out of nowhere like that.
I mean, we met him 8 years ago when we were first beginning on the project. Clint and I, we were at a breakfast at the real Brent Buell's apartment. He had invited us to meet some people who were very special to him, all of these alumni. And the first guy through the door was Clarence Macklin that day 8 years ago. And, he has that presence that you kind of feel before he even comes into the room. He's got the it factor, the star power, the thing that none of us know how to actually define. You just know it when you see it. And I think that's partially because he's just got such a beautiful soul and spirit to him, and he's a natural, but he also does the work, and the actor he was, even at the start of production, the actor he finished as is night and day difference. He just constantly learning and applying that and growing. He takes advantage of every moment. He never misses an opportunity to better himself and the people around him.
Absolutely. And now for each of you, I know people, especially at film festivals, they'll watch a film like this and go, wow, that's amazing. Like I have a story to tell. I want it, but it's so much harder than you can imagine. You've done it a bunch of times. What advice would each of you give to somebody that wants to follow in your footsteps and make great art?
Mm. Monique?
Sure.
Any of
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I have always prioritized, it's not just about the material, it's about the people. And it's about finding the people that where you share the vision and you share a process of making films. Like, it's way too hard to do it with people you don't like. And so I think that is like finding your community and finding your like-minded, whether it's friends or colleagues or people who just share in values and in why they're in this business. Everyone's doing it for a different reason. And so I think that's always core to my process. And I think I think you'll find that there's like so much joy in collaborating and making films when you're doing it with your community.
Yeah. And focusing on the process too, I think jumping off of that Monique's saying is like focusing on the process and making that a special experience for everybody and treating everybody well within that, and not falling into this trap of thinking that whatever the means are, that they'll be justified by the end of making the movie, and not treating people poorly, and just making it a good experience and a healthy and positive experience will oftentimes create a good movie will come out of that, and something beautiful will come out of that.
Absolutely. Great.
I'll say it's quite practical, and I say it a lot, is like pick a start date for your movie, an actual start date, not some vague distant time in the future of next year or next fall or in 2028 or whatever, but October 9th, 2024. And by planting that flag in the ground, it starts all of these things in motion, but most importantly within your own self, building this authentic sense of urgency and this confidence that we're actually going towards a real moment in time to bring this to life. And it creates a sensation of like a train leaving the station rather than staying docked, at the gate. And people want to be a part of that train that's leaving station, and to get onto that momentum.
I love that. This is what my co-host Drew Pearson, one of our great Dallas Cowboys, would call a Hail Mary moment. Of course, he caught the Hail Mary, went in the Hall of Fame, and so he wanted me to make sure I asked you guys your Hail Mary moment, that moment in your life or career you just had to go for it. It worked out for you. Might be this, might be something else.
I mean, I think on this, actually, the Hail Mary moment happens on every movie for me for some reason. I don't know why. But, for this, just like Greg said, he had that conviction of like, no, we're shooting. So even though we didn't have financing in place yet, I moved up to upstate New York. I was staying at a friend's house while we were putting this together. As we were continuing to try to raise the financing, we're kind of going off credit cards and like at one point living out of a van because we didn't have a hotel room. So, there's always that. It's like you gotta have to just take that leap of faith. I did it on my prior film as well, and I think that it just yeah, it's kind of like that. It's either it's gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. Like there's no doubt about it. And that energy, I think something in the energy and the universe telling the universe like this is happening forces it to come to life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say like I dropped out of accounting my senior year at Texas A&M in the middle of a test to be a filmmaker, and led to just a series of Hail Marys one after the other from that point on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to pick one. I think this one being, you know, literally like 2 weeks out from when we were going to film and not having not having any money in the bank was a big Hail Mary moment for this one. But then also just like even stepping back to March of the year that we shot it, and we didn't have a script, and we didn't have any money then, of course, either. But going to Coleman Domingo and saying like, yeah, we'll take 2 weeks of your, if you've got these 4 weeks in your summer, like we'll take them, um, and just figuring we'll put it together between, you know, March and when we shot. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and now, of course, we get this beautiful movie, and people were, you know, I think people will get something different out of it depending on what they've been through or who they know, or you know, maybe different life experiences. But what is it that you hope, each of you hope that people will get out of this one? Because there's so much going on, and so very special.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, there's so many different ways to access the stories in the movie, and I think, you know, I hope that people can just really sit with the, you know, the power that art has, like how vital it is,
Mhm.
and how it really can create space for you to deal with your, you know, deal with whatever's going on in your life and to connect. And I think that that's where the healing occurs, is like in community with other people, and the art making helps facilitate that. And then I also think that it's a way, you know, for me, this film has been a process of really sitting with, you know, our prison system in this country, and, you know, and how many people we incarcerate, which is, you know, the most of like any other country in the world. And so I think that it's the the way to kind of think about if we can ever change that as a collective society is to really imagine what that might look like. And so I hope that this film is like a way to open people's minds to that.
Mhm.
And I just hope people that we start looking each other in the eyes more, and listening and hearing each other's stories. And it's kind of impossible for someone to be anything other than human, to be your enemy when that happens. And if there's any path to peace, it begins there, you know, through common understanding.
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, take care of the people next to you. That's something that's very striking about Divine G's, the character arc of Divine G in the movie is somebody who always helps other people and puts on this facade of that everything's all right and I've got it all under control, but needs a lot of help. And I think, you know, whether that's on a global basis or just the person next to us at the in the grocery store thinking about what somebody else might be going through and just reaching out to help them.
Yeah. Well, last thing then, I know people are just going to really feel this one a lot, and I know that you did as well. Is there something about this movie experience that changed you just as a human? Because I imagine it would, being in the
Yeah.
setting and meeting all everybody.
My God, I mean,
Yeah.
like on every of my being. And um yeah, I I'm permanently changed from this for the better. But I also, that like worried me of like, would I ever be able to find an experience like this again? And you know, am I ruined now because I've had this beautiful journey, and there's nothing left, you know, that will feel this way or feel this good again. Something JJ, one of the alumni in our film, said is like, our stories are not the anomaly, you know, we're the majority, just unseen. And, you know, pay attention and you'll see it everywhere. And that gives me a lot of confidence that um, there are so many more stories that can be beautiful gifts like this, just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, beautifully said. Well, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you making this movie. We're gonna definitely see you again during awards season, but for now, I'm going to tell everyone to check this one out, and look forward to talking to each of you again soon.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
So
Okay,
much.
thank you so much. Okay, appreciate you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.